Hey everyone, Dave Jeffers from Dave Jeffers Artist. Hi there. We're showing you the latest painting I'm working on. Just trying to make sure I can get as much of this in there as we can. As you know, I have a small studio, so it can be tough to fit in here. Let me move myself over while we're giving people a chance to join. Just thought you might like to see what I'm working on and kind of talk and work a little bit and spend a little time together tonight. Sometimes it's good just to hear a voice. And here we go. I think that'll work. I'll try to keep my big head out of the way. So I've been working on this for about 2 days. And I've gotten it to this point. This is mainly oil. Prepared my way. If you'd like to see how I prepare my canvases before I actually start putting the main painting on, go to my YouTube channel, Dave Jeffers Healing Artist. And go there and you can check out what I do with it beforehand. And how I kind of get it ready. I don't just start with a blank canvas. I do something a little different for me. I haven't seen many other artists doing it, although we all have our own way of doing things. So, while we're waiting for people to join, hope you can see everything. I think that's working out. Let me get a little bit more over here, too. I've been working in this corner right here a lot. There we go. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. Now, try to keep my head out of the way. There we go. I'm using a short-handled brush because it's the one I like the best, so it's going to be tough to stay out of my own way. So I'm working on details now. Getting to the point where it might be getting done soon. And again, maybe not. If that makes any sense. Artists are different. We go away for a couple days. My thing is sometimes I'll leave it for 2 or 3 days, then come back and look and think to myself, is it really done? Then I'll decide. You know, sometimes I'm of the opinion not to fiddle too much, because you can always keep going. You could literally make a painting last most of your life probably just by working and reworking it. But there comes a time when you have to say, that's it, and move on from there. You can always come back to it years later and start working it again. I've done that with paintings too. Artists are like that. We might just do that at any time. I've taken old paintings, put them back on the easel here and gone back over them and started to work again. That's just the way we are. I'm going to move this a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit different angle. I hope that's better. I think I can stay out of the way better that way. There we go. And I'm going to focus it down because I'm working in this area. There we go. I think I can stay more out of the way this way. So this is a big painting. I think it's, I don't know. Looks to be about 24 by 36 inches. Big for me. You know, because that's pretty much the max size I can get into my studio and still be able to walk around my studio. My studio is actually a spare bedroom that used to belong to my daughter when she lived here years and years ago. Been a long time now. And every now and then when she comes back to visit, I clean up this room. Oh, that's never fun. Cleaning up the room and getting ready for visitors. So I have so much stuff in here. But I'd gladly clean it up if she came to visit. Hint, hint, if you're watching there, Rachel. She knows we miss her. She's living down in Texas. Or is that up in Texas? I can never get those direction things right. I'm in New York, Buffalo area, so I don't know if that's up or down. So I'm working this painting. Gonna kind of keep this area kind of open over here. I always like a painting to look like it's headed somewhere. So it's headed. That's the rest of the shift that way. It's kind of headed that direction, if you will. Not sure what I'm going to call this one yet. I'm kind of thinking about it. What I'm going to call this when I'm done. It gets harder and harder to name paintings after a while. After a while, you've given some of your best names to things. Now I know why Jackson Pollock, artist, just started to call his number 1, number 2. Because it's hard to know what to call them. They express your feelings, but sometimes you've called another painting that, and you know, what are you going to do? So I understand his frustration. He just said, I'll call it number 2. Because you look at it and you go, you know, it's kind of presumptuous even to name them sometimes, because people, when they buy a painting, and you're welcome to do that anytime you want, I'll allow any of you watching to buy one of my paintings. I'll do it just for you. Go to DaveJeffersArtist.com and have a look. I got a half price sale going on now. Anything you see there is half price. Hopefully my shopping cart on there is working now. If not, let me know. If you want to buy something and it doesn't give you that half price, I'll go in there and fix that. So I've just been having a great time with this one. And just been enjoying it thoroughly. I love that this is more detailed than some of the ones I've done recently. I've been experimenting with a lot of line, which means sometimes I use marker. And put marker on the white canvas. And then I go from there and develop my painting as I go. That's been a lot of fun too. And I originally started doing that because I draw a lot. And I use a lot of markers when I'm downstairs. And I'll sit down, and when I get bored watching the TV, which is almost all the time, not a whole lot good on TV anymore, even with all the channels we have. Isn't it amazing? Even with all the channels, still can't find anything I think is that great to watch. Now I just pay more money not to find things I don't like. What can you do? What I'm doing at this point in the painting is I'm kind of going back to areas that I painted in very lightly. As I tell people when I work on oil paintings, a lot of times I paint with oils like watercolorists paint with watercolor. I go very, very light layers and kind of build it up. So now I'm at the point of the painting where I'm coming back, deciding what I want to make more powerful, I guess you'll say. What needs a little more definition, and I go from there. So I'm at that point in the painting where I'm making final determinations. What I'm going to use, what I'm going to stick with. So this is kind of a fun part of the painting to be involved in. Because right now I'm making kind of final determinations. What's going to be the focal point? What am I really going to center on? Because sometimes when I start my abstracts, even though I have an idea in my head, I don't always have the whole thing. I never draw it out really much. Unless I use that with markers like I told you before, and even then it's just kind of a rough sketch, if you will. It's kind of my sketching when I use the marker on it, laying things out a little bit. Because it changes dramatically anyway. It's not like the marker really determines the painting. A lot of times I'll go over the marker if I don't like it later and just kind of redo it. But I have so much fun when I'm painting. I read something Picasso said. He talked about painting, and he said he always amazed himself when he painted. He would finish his painting, and he would always be amazed at what he had made. He would always be a little surprised. So he purposely didn't plan everything out. Now, he had ideas and everything. Of course he did. But he left a lot of room for independent discovery. Like if he found something that happened that he really liked, even if he didn't plan it, he'd use it anyway. The famous Bob Ross painter used to say, "Happy little accidents. Sometimes we slip with a brush and we look and go, you know what? It looks good." I have discovered many things that I use now as a regular part of my painting that was an accident when it first happened. Brush slipped, or I used too much paint thinner in something, or I used paint certain colors together that I never did before. Or certain shapes that I thought in fast would never look good, but did when I put them together. And they became not accidents anymore, but a regular part of my painting. It's funny how things like that happen. You're just painting along, and all of a sudden you go, oops, and then you stop and look and say, oops, that looks good. And then somebody invariably will say, how did you do that? What kind of technique are you using? And of course, you don't want to say, well, I slipped. So I practice. When I find something that works by accident, I then practice it a lot. So I can intelligently say, here's the technique that I discovered. But it's okay, because the only reason I discovered it was because I paint a lot. If you're a painter out there and you're kind of frustrated and you're like, oh, I'm not getting any better, I'm going to tell you something that's going to sound obvious. You just got to paint a lot. You just have to. There's no substitute for getting in there. And yeah, you'll paint some real lemons. Every now and then you'll paint something that you hope no one ever sees. Against the wall in back of this painting, I store some of my works that are done. And whenever I don't like something, I refer to it as an experiment. Meaning that, it didn't quite fit the idea I thought it was going to my head. If you ever had an idea of something in your head the way you thought something was going to work out and it didn't, painters go through that. And then we'll look at the painting and go, that's just not what I planned. But you know what I found out? When people come over to my studio and they're buying a painting, I can't tell you the amount of times, even though I've kind of tried to hide those paintings, I put them face against the wall and I've made sure that, they're not out in plain sight. I can't tell you the amount of times people pick those paintings and say, I want that one. And inside I'm cringing, but I'm like, oh, because what doesn't look good to me, because something didn't look the way it was in my head, doesn't matter to someone buying a painting. They want it. It makes a connection with them. They could care less. Even though inside I'm cringing going, oh boy, so glad that one survived. But it's amazing how many times that happens. And they pick that one that you swore you didn't like. Sometimes even wished you didn't paint it. I don't know why that is. But that's the way it works sometimes. Strange, isn't it? Like anything else in life, we're very hard on ourselves. Artists are the same as anybody else. Someone makes something or does something, and someone says, wow, that's beautiful. And we're kind of like, well, yeah, I guess. Because we're never quite satisfied. We need to learn to enjoy things we do and make. And discovering that as we go along, enjoy it, and take compliments well, thank people, and be happy with what you create. And there will be times every artist will be like, oh, I wish I'd have done a better job. But that's all right. There's always the next painting. And I have had a lot of paintings that I didn't like in the beginning that I went back and looked at later and actually enjoyed them. I've had paintings, I never really destroyed a painting. I have painted over things once in a great while. But someone told me one thing. One of the agents I have that works with me once in a while said he was representing someone one time and he went to their studio and they had a bunch of paintings up on a shelf, kind of in a loft area, where no one could really see it. And the only reason he saw it was he went up there and helped her get something. And she said to him, he said, what are these? He said, oh, those are ones that I hope no one ever sees. And guess what sold the most after they died? A few years later, that person passed away. And those became some of the most cherished paintings. What the artist didn't like, the average person liked just fine. But artists are like that. And there are things that we don't see, or sometimes we don't sign our work. I've gotten mad and not signed work because I'm like, that didn't work the way I wanted it to at all. And that's it. Artists have egos like everybody else. And we're like, that is not what I intended. Like I said, though, those are always the ones people want. Funny how that works out. So I don't destroy things. Who knows? Maybe long after I'm gone, my kids will look at my paintings, or someone will find my studio and say, hey, what's this? Look at all these paintings that he's never put on his website or were never in galleries. So if I ever hit it big, it'll give him something to wonder about. The missing paintings of Dave Jeffers. Wouldn't that be cool if that happened? Why not us, right? My mom used to say, why not you, Dave? Why can't you be the famous one? Why can't you? Because I had to learn to have a better self-esteem. Got a better self-esteem now. I'm very happy with what I'm doing in life. And I've learned to enjoy. But aren't we hard on ourselves more than anyone else ever is? Kind of sad. We really should like ourselves. Because we spend so much time with us, don't we? If you don't like yourself, you're in trouble. Because everywhere you go, there you are. If you're not satisfied, boy, you got a problem. Because everywhere you go, you run into yourself, don't you? So we need to learn to lighten up on ourselves. As you guys know my story, I had a father who was hard on me. It was an abusive situation, and he was never really happy. He wasn't public, he would tell everyone, but there's a lot of things he said in private that kind of let me know I just didn't quite measure up. But that's, person like that, that's how they operate. And it's tough to forget that. So if you're out there and you're listening and maybe you've had that kind of situation, who cares what someone else thinks? When I learned that lesson, it really made life better for me. Who made that person an expert on whether or not you're good or whether or not you're going to be successful? Or, we've all had teachers in our life or people that said, you're never going to amount to anything, or people that weren't nice to us. And, they're all over the place. My mom said one time, kids are cruel. Adults are too, but kids just say it. They'll say things that even adults won't say out loud. And kids tell the truth. Or in some cases, they don't tell. They tell what they think is the truth, don't they? They tell their version of the truth, and they're very sure of themselves. I think that's what makes it hard to deal with if you've had a rough childhood and you didn't have a lot of friends. Because people that you go to school with, they don't like you and they stay on you, then you really can start to believe some of the things they say. Because they say it with such conviction, don't they? But as soon as you learn not to take that seriously, the better. And, I had a rough childhood, like some of you probably did. I learned. I had a good mom. My mom would bounce me out of that kind of thing and say, who cares what that person thinks? If you have one good parent, you're lucky. If you have two, it's almost a miracle. It just is, especially today, isn't it? My artwork is how I kind of deal with life. Being as I was an abuse victim, you sometimes go back to that. And when someone doesn't like something or, like my art style is not for everybody. It just isn't. And I know that. Just like when I go to art exhibits in the art museum, sometimes I'll look at a painting and I'll go, geez, that's ugly. And the next person will say it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Everyone's taste is different, and that's good. We're allowed not to like things. That's fine. As long as we don't take what someone says like, I don't like that, and think, well, it's no good at all. No, just because I didn't like it. When I learned that lesson, life became much easier for me. Can't remember. I think it was my mom that taught me that. David, not everyone's going to like you. No matter how nice you are, sometimes people just look at you and they don't like you. They don't know you, but it's just a feeling they get. So I learned to deal with it. So I'm having so much fun painting this. I love the bright colors. I've been experimenting a little bit with my art style. Had a pretty established way of doing things. And went off on a little binge for a while. That's okay. It's good. Refreshing. But I found myself returning to my roots. And that's fine too. I like this one. The question's going to be, how much further am I going to take it before I finally stop and say, that's it? And I think it's getting closer. Not quite yet, but it's getting there. And only the artist knows when their work is done. No other artist could come in here and say, you're not done. They don't know the process I've gone through and what's in my head, what I'm trying to accomplish. Only the artist working on the artwork can say when it's done. Sometimes I paint, and it takes me days and weeks to finish a painting, depending on the size of it and depending on the complexity and what I'm into. Sometimes I finish a painting in a day, and I just know it's done. I just know that no matter how much longer I worked on it, right now is the time to stop. I've accomplished something. And sometimes it's just I love the contrast I created and I don't want to mess it up. Or sometimes it's just that the shapes are so beautiful and I just don't want to upset the balance I've created, and so it's time to stop. Tough. Every artist has to come through that point where they go, am I done? Like I say, sometimes I walk away from a painting when I think I'm done and come back in a couple days. And I say to myself, now, am I really done? Most of the time I am. And I'm through and I was right. But every now and then, I wind up going another direction with the painting. That's okay. That is okay. We turn off that phone ringing. That's annoying, isn't it? If I can. There it goes. And so, you're an artist out there. You know what I'm talking about. There are certain art pieces that nag you. And you're like, am I done? I've had to make myself work on some art pieces too, because I knew they weren't done, but I was tired of working on them. Get impatient. I haven't got the room in my studio to work on 2 or 3 paintings at once. So I can only really work on the one I've got, unless I'm drawing. And so, it's not like I can go, well, I'll go to easel number 2 and work on that while I think more about that one. So I'm kind of stuck with making my decision. I think that's been good. It's good. Makes you more decisive. Nothing wrong with that. Makes you make a decision quicker. Move on to the next thing. If you can hear popping sounds, my poor wife is downstairs and she's a balloon artist. And she is making some balloon decor for some people. Actually, they're little leprechauns. They're candy cups. And what that is really is a leprechaun on top, and it's a cup full of candy, just like it sounds. But she's got to make a lot of them, and I see she's getting kind of frustrated down there. I keep going down and trying to help her, but kind of in the way sometimes, more than I'm helping. I blow up balloons for her when I can, but because they're balloon art, she's always making something with them. And so, sometimes me making a balloon ahead of time for her actually slows her down. She'll politely tell me to get lost. I do what I can. Do what I can. What can you do? Sometimes we're help to those we love, and sometimes we're just kind of a pain in the butt. That's okay. Now, what do you think, people? Let's see if anyone's on here. Oh, yeah, I got a couple people. Hi, guys. And so, I'm going to paint a little while longer, then I'm going to turn off the live feed, because I'm sure you guys have something to do with your life other than watch me. Although sometimes it's fun just to watch someone work. Maybe you had a long day, and you just want to sit and veg out a little bit. You can watch me paint. I still turn on every now and then. I turn on Bob Ross videos, and I'm watching paint. And just relax to the sound of his voice. And just enjoy watching another artist do what they do. I know when I first got interested in oil painting, it was a Bob Ross kit my wife bought me for Christmas that got me going. So thank you, Mr. Ross, for all the help you gave me. And when I first got the kit, of course, Bob Ross was still alive, still doing his program. He was a cool guy, I bet. Didn't know him personally, of course. I was too young, but from what I hear other people say about him that knew him, he was a pretty cool guy. How come it's always the cool people that seem to pass away young? You ever notice that? Sometimes we lose the coolest people too young. And some of the jerks live forever. Oh well. Fortunately, he's forever preserved on TV. You can hear his soothing voice and just watch him create fantastic pieces of art anytime. And it's fun to watch. I love his whimsical style. I love the way he just glides across the paint and brush and tells anyone you can paint, anyone can paint. Yeah, it's true to a degree. If you stick with it, if you're actually a student, you could learn quite a bit from watching him paint. A lot of people just to watch him and listen to him talk and hear about his family and all the pet animals he had and what was going on in his life. But yes, you could learn to paint pretty good from him if you really took it seriously. But most people, I think, just wanted to hear his voice. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't know if I'm going to go much further with this painting, guys. What do you think? Kind of put in the comments below. Do you think I should keep this up or quit? I'm getting to the point now where I'm wondering if I'm not done. I'm trying to see, is there something else I could do that would make a big difference? See, I'm at the point now where I think I'm picking little areas, and that's okay. It's okay to do detail and come back and say, I'm going to finish that up. But sometimes you're painting just to paint. And every artwork has a start and a finish date. Oh, if you guys hadn't heard, I had something exciting happen. This past week, I had entered an art competition right up here in the city of Buffalo. It was an art gallery, and they were having a modern art competition. Hey, that's my thing. So I brought one of my paintings down, and I just caught in under the deadline. So it was one of those days when I had like 5 or 6 other things to do, and I dropped off the paintings real quick. Just got them there in time. Met people, didn't shake hands because you can't shake hands during COVID anymore. Weird, isn't it? Hope that day goes when you don't have to be like that anymore. Put it in there, left. And the next day, it was a curated show, so the lady called and said, good news, both your paintings made it in. I took 2 paintings. Both your paintings have been accepted into the show, which amazed me because I took it down there so quick. Wasn't even sure I picked the right 2, that were really my best works. And she said, and you won one of your paintings won first place. So cool. That's the first time I've won first place. I've been honorable mention, and I've placed and everything else at different art shows. And it was kind of cool because it was so rushed. Isn't that funny that the one that I didn't feel I was ready for is the one that I won? And then they said, come on for a picture next week. So I came in to get a picture taken, and they handed me an envelope, which I figured had a certificate in it, and it had a check in it. Ooh, I like checks. Hey, Carrie Brown, how you doing? Good to see you. Appreciate that. Yeah, that surprised me. I didn't expect to win. Not because I didn't think I was any good. It's not a self-confidence problem. It was just that, it was so hurried. You just feel like, well, that's not going to amount. I'm glad I was lucky even to get a painting in there. I was happy just to get 2 of them accepted. It was a curated show, so I had to go through some hoops. And that was exciting enough. But then to win, that was really exciting. So that was a lot of fun. The painting's up there now. Now we'll hope that they sell. That'd be nice too, wouldn't it? Love to have paintings around, but it gets to the point where, either you or your paintings have to go. I have a lot of paintings. Any artist that's watching knows what I mean. Unless you sell them as soon as you paint them. If you do, congratulations. I do know a couple artists that are like that. They sell them literally faster than they can paint them. A problem I hope to have someday. What do you think, Carrie Gibbons? Is it done? Let me know in your comments there. I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to be done here pretty soon. I think I'm almost done with this one. I don't think there's a whole lot more I can do to it that would make a huge difference. Sometimes you need an outside person to say, yep, quit it, Dave. Enough's enough. That's all you have to see. But I think I'm going to sign this one very soon, leave it, and I may come back to it in a day or 2 and then start all over again. Who knows? I've done that. No more times than not. My wife has said, I thought you said you were done with that painting. I'm like, well, I thought I was too. Sometimes a couple days I close the studio door, don't look at it, and I come back and go, oh, I got work to do. When you're too close to your artwork for too long, all kinds of things. They look so different when you come back with fresh eyes. In our memories, we forget what the painting looked like, and we come back and we go, oh, that needs work. I've done that more than once. That's okay. Looks good. Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate that. Guys, I've had so much fun spending some time with you today. I don't want to go too long because it's, what time is it now? Can't see it on my phone. Anyway, it's getting later. Here, I'll ask Alexa. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 8:31 p.m.
8:31, yes. I think I'm going to help. I'm going to go downstairs and help my wife. I mentioned if you weren't here, Carrie, she's making balloon animals, poor lady. And it's okay to make a few, but she's got to make 100 or so. Now, I got to see if there's something I can't do to help her. I hear her down there getting pretty mad as some of these balloons are starting to break. I better go down there before I find my lamp through my picture window or something. I don't want to get too bad. I've had so much fun spending some time with you guys. Thank you so much for watching and just spending a few minutes. I'll do this every now and then. I'll let you know if this painting is wound up done in a couple days. I'll probably let it sit and look at it later. And I've had a lot of fun spending some time with you. Bye-bye, guys.